Good evening. Tonight, we look beyond the headlines, past the noise of Washington, to a quiet crisis unfolding across America's heartland. It's a story about the men and women who feed our nation. These are our farmers, the stewards of the land, and they are walking away from a life they have known for generations. This exodus isn't happening because of a single bad harvest or a drought. It's a complex and heartbreaking situation, accelerated by economic policies meant to protect American interests, but instead dealt a crippling blow to some of our most vital citizens. We are talking about a slow-motion disaster that threatens individual livelihoods and the very foundation of our nation's food security. The fields are still green, but the future for those who tend them has become frighteningly uncertain. To understand why so many farmers are facing this predicament, we must first understand the tool that triggered it: tariffs. Think of a tariff as a tax. It's a tax that a country places on goods it imports from another country. The goal, often, is to make foreign products more expensive. This is done to encourage people and businesses to buy goods made in their own country instead. During his presidency, Donald Trump used tariffs aggressively as a key part of his America First trade strategy. He believed that countries like China were taking advantage of the United States, and he intended to rebalance the scales of global trade. Instead of targeting random American products, China aimed its retaliatory tariffs directly at a sector where it would hurt the most: American agriculture, soybeans, pork, corn, dairy. China was at the time the largest buyer of American soybeans. When that market effectively closed its doors, the impact on American farmers was immediate and catastrophic. They had planted their crops and raised their livestock based on decades of predictable trade relationships, which were now thrown into chaos. This economic whiplash left farmers in an impossible position. To truly grasp the human cost, we have to listen to the people on the ground. We spoke with David Harding, a fifth-generation soybean farmer from Iowa. His family has worked the same plot of land since the late 1800s. "We were told to be patriots," he said, his voice heavy with a mix of anger and exhaustion. We believed him. But as the trade war dragged on, his optimism faded. The price just kept dropping. We were producing the best crop we'd ever had, and we couldn't sell it for what it cost us to grow it. Every day you wake up and you're losing money. How long can a person do that before you lose everything? The Harding family was ultimately forced to sell a third of their land that had been in their family for over 140 years. The stories echo across different sectors of agriculture. In North Carolina, we met a pork producer named Maria Sanchez. Her family's hog farm had built a thriving business, exporting to China. When retaliatory tariffs hit, her business was decimated. One day, our buyers are calling us, planning for the next year, the next. The phones are silent. The price of hogs fell by almost half. We had to make some awful choices. These are people who live in our community, whose kids go to school with our kids. The damage wasn't just to our bank account, it was to the fabric of our town. The crisis facing American farmers is not contained within the fences of their properties. It creates a powerful ripple effect, touching every part of our food supply chain and our economy. When farmers go out of business, it's not just one family losing their livelihood. The local businesses that depend on those farms suffer as well. Feed suppliers, equipment dealerships, mechanics, veterinarians, seed companies. Their customer base shrinks, leading to layoffs and closures. Land bought by corporate farms or investment firms. This can prioritize short-term profits over long-term stewardship. Farmland consolidation into fewer, larger hands is a major consequence. A food supply dominated by a handful of giants is brittle and vulnerable. If one of these large entities faces disruption, the national food supply impact could be severe. This lack of diversity is a hidden risk we're just starting to see. The stories we hear from farmers are not just anecdotes. They are backed by stark and troubling data. The numbers paint a clear picture of an industry under immense strain. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, farm bankruptcies spiked after the tariffs. In 2019, Chapter 12 family farm bankruptcies surged 20%, reaching the highest level in nearly a decade. This increase was most pronounced in the Midwest. The data confirmed the financial distress was widespread and severe. Economists at Iowa State quantified direct losses. Analysts estimated tens of billions in lost export revenue. For soybean farmers alone, the losses were staggering. Before the tariffs, China imported roughly one-third of U.S. soybeans. When that market dried up, soybean prices plummeted. USDA data showed net farm income became dangerously volatile. Government aid packages temporarily boosted incomes, but economists warned this was unsustainable. Farmers operate on credit. seeds, fertilizer, equipment, expecting to repay after harvest. Federal Reserve data showed farm loan delinquency rates jumped. Total farm debt climbed to over $450 billion, levels not seen since the 1980s adjusted for inflation. The term food crisis might sound like something that happens in a distant country. Not here in the United States, the land of plenty, the loss of farmers, the consolidation of farmland, and increased reliance on imports are pushing us toward a less stable, more expensive future. A nation that cannot feed itself is not secure. Weakening domestic agriculture makes us dependent on other countries and vulnerable to their politics and climate. Rising food prices will disproportionately hurt lower-income families in food deserts. Families may turn to cheaper, less nutritious processed foods. That shift can increase obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, a public health crisis waiting to happen. Importing more food also complicates safety oversight and traceability. We introduce new risks when we rely on products made to different standards. The result will deepen inequalities and place the greatest burden on the most vulnerable. This is not abstract. It's about what families can afford at the grocery store. For some, it could mean the difference between balanced meals and going hungry. We must consider food security and public health in every policy decision about agriculture. For most Americans, the farm crisis feels distant, something happening far away in rural America. But its consequences are marching steadily toward the checkout aisle of every grocery store. When supply goes down, prices go up. As we lose farmers and domestic production declines, certain goods will tighten in supply. Transportation, tariffs, navigating complex international logistics. All of these factors combine to create upward pressure on food prices. Availability will shrink, not just prices. Out-of-stock signs may become more common. The year-round abundance many of us take for granted depends on a fragile global chain. Geopolitical tensions, climate events, and logistical bottlenecks can disrupt it at any time. The seamless abundance we've known could be replaced by unpredictability. Quality and safety could be compromised as imports increase. Lower-income families will feel it first and worst. Acknowledging the severity of this crisis is the first step, but it is not enough. We must explore concrete pathways to recovery, policy changes, community initiatives, consumer choices, negotiate stable, long-term trade agreements so farmers can plan and invest. Low-interest loans for beginning farmers and land-linked programs can help transfer farms to the next generation. Expanded apprenticeship and mentorship opportunities. Invest in sustainable and regenerative practices to reduce input costs and increase resilience. Support CSA programs and farmers markets to keep more money in farmers' pockets. Technology, precision agriculture, and rural broadband expand productivity and opportunity. Reform subsidy programs to better support small and medium family farms. A diverse agricultural landscape is more resilient and nutritious. Local systems and community action help rebuild rural economies from the ground up. The challenges facing America's farmers are immense. The exodus from our farmlands is real, but to despair would be to underestimate the resilience of the American spirit. The spirit of the American farmer endures. We must come together, policymakers, consumers, and communities. Combine age-old wisdom with innovation. Support cooperative markets and local infrastructure. This is a call to action, not surrender. The future of American agriculture is not yet written. It will be shaped by the choices we make today, as policymakers and as consumers. By combining wisdom with innovation, we can make farming viable for the next generation. Collaboration can bridge urban and rural divides. The soil is still rich, the will to persevere is strong. Together, we can build an equitable, sustainable food system that nourishes our nation. There is work to be done, but there is also a profound opportunity to grow a better tomorrow.